Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, it's Sunday, it's the first day of my long weekend, looking forward to it this weekend. We finished up the last night of Silo Screams last night. It was actually a reasonably early night, so I got a good night's sleep, got up this morning, did a live stream, and now we're going to tackle the events of the day. So you may recall that I visited Leslie's a couple times trying to find a pool cover for my Doughboy pool, and didn't have a whole lot of success. Well, I ordered one online and it arrived yesterday. So I want to try and get this thing in the pool today, because it is true now that I have some trees in the yard that drop their leaves and it's starting to make a mess in the pool. So what I did this morning when I got up was remove those pillows that I bought for the pool, because sometimes when you have something like those things floating in the pool, then you have leaves drop in the pool. The leaves kind of tend to stick to the side of the pillows, and they don't get sucked into the filter and flushed away. So I removed those today, and then we're going to reinstall those, and after I've cleaned the pool, and then we're going to try to put this pool cover on, and it's going to be interesting to see how this works, because I'm not really even sure how this is going to happen. So let's figure it out together. Now, a few of the trees in the area are actually starting to drop their leaves. In fact, I was looking at one of my neighbor's yards recently, and they seem to have a nice maple tree in the front yard, and it's turning nice and red. So we're definitely getting into fall, and I'm starting to get a little leaf waste in the yard myself, and unfortunately a bunch of it's ending up in the pool. Now, I've already done a pretty good job getting most of the leaves out of the pool, both on the surface and underneath. I had to pull the pillows off because the leaves tend to stick to the pillow rather than going into the drain and getting flushed away. So we pulled those out this morning, kind of cleaned everything up, and ran a cycle with the robot, which right now has completed its cycle and is now taking a rest. I still see a couple more leaves down there, but it's a lot better than what it was. So I think I'm going to probably kind of go around here one more time with a skimmer, because there's still a few of them on the surface, and I only see really one leaf underneath, and maybe I can get that with a net too. I don't know, we'll see. And then we're going to pull the vacuum out, and let's see how we can get this cover on. First thing I also got to do is I got to get that ladder off. So let's go look at that. Now, to me, it appears that the ladder is only connected to the side of the pool with this screw and a similar one on the other side. So it should come off pretty easy. So that's the first step, is let's go get the screwdriver and let's loosen that screw. It just looks like it's a wing nut underneath, so I ought to just be able to grab hold of it and unscrew it. And, this should just slide right off. I also think it'll simplify the process a little bit if I take the ladder that goes into the pool off. And as I kind of learned earlier on this summer, when I had to replace this bolt here, that's the only thing that's holding it on. Then this thing just pulls straight out, and the ladder should just lift straight out. So I want to start off with that, because I think that'll be easier. Once we get this thing off, then it'll be easier to get the whole ladder disconnected if the leg is taken off. So let's start with that first. So yeah, the inside ladder came off really easy. That's definitely the way to do that. I got that out of the pool. Now all I got to do is just remove those two screws, and the whole ladder should just come off in my hands. Alright, so removing these has turned out to be a little bit more of a challenge than I thought. It turns out this one here is really rusted on the underside. Imagine, I guess that's not really surprising, considering the fact that it's got a year's worth of pool use and getting wet and all that under it, that just get all rusted out. So I haven't been able to do this, and in fact I ended up stripping out the head on this screw. Now fortunately I was able to remove the one on the other side, and so now that I got that off, the only thing that's holding it here is this one, and I can just basically push and slide it off. So that simplifies things a little bit. I'll have to cut this off, and we'll have to replace both these screws next season, but at least we got the ladder off. And that just leaves this little piece here, and I was hoping that once I got it off that I could maybe get in at a better angle and unthread it, but it's just not going to go. So I'm going to see if I can get this with a bolt cutter. I'm not even sure if that's going to work. That might be too much. I might end up having to bring the grinder out here. So since it's just me out here and I don't really feel like going into the pool if the half of the screw that I cut off falls into the pool, I've tied a piece of string to it because, let's face it, the water's a little too cold for that. All right, we got lucky. It didn't go in the pool. But you know, if I hadn't tied that string to it, it would have. Absolutely would have. 120% possibility. Now, even though we managed to get one of them to come off, you know, despite it being really rusty, I think probably just next season I'm just going to replace both these screws, because that's not going to be that difficult to find something like that at Home Depot. And you know, I bet you I can get something that will be a little less susceptible to rust, and maybe we won't have to fight with this next year. So I think next thing I want to do is open up the box and get the pool cover out. Now they specifically say don't open with a knife. So what am I going to do? I'm going to open with a knife. What they're really saying is they don't want you going like this and cutting open the box this way. I'm going to carefully cut the tape away on the edges and fold the flap up. This will be fine. Alright, so this is everything that came with it. We got the pool cover, of course. We have this cable that we're going to wrap around the bottom, and that's going to clamp the cover to the side of the pool so it doesn't blow off. And then we got this little ratcheting winch thing, which we're going to use to get everything nice and tight. So I've already moved it out onto the lawn because I'm going to unfold it here and just kind of see what we got, so I can try and strategize about how I'm going to get this thing into the pool without damaging it. Alright, I guess I expected something a little bit more substantial than this. This is basically the same kind of stuff that they make at like a painter's tarp out of, like plastic tarp that you can buy. But that's okay. It's probably not going to last multiple seasons. We'll probably just have to replace it next year. But it should do the job this time. So I'm going to flip it over. Let's get it into the water, kind of into position, and see if we can get this thing anchored down right. But before we do that, I got to get the pillows back into the pool, because now that we basically got everything cleaned out, well, more or less, I think probably ought to hit it with a skimmer one more time here too, just to be safe. Get everything out of here last minute, because this has all just happened like in the last half hour. All this has ended up in here, because you can see what's going on. The leaves are falling out of the tree right now, and they're ending up in the pool. So yeah, this is going to be fun. So I decided I wanted to see how this thing was going to fit before I got the balloons in there. And I think it's going to actually be all right. I was a little concerned it might be a little bit on the large side. But, you know, it's draping down a little bit far on this side, but I don't think it's down that far on the other side. So I think if I pull it this way a little bit, it'll be fine. And when you combine that with the fact that the pillows are underneath it, that should also expand it a little bit and give us a little bit more room. So I think this is going to be fine. Alright, so now that I've gotten verified that the pool cover is going to fit and is probably going to be fine for me, I've kind of pulled it back and kind of pulled it into a little ball here so that I can get the pillows back in. I'm also taking this opportunity to pull the robot out. Now, the robot is actually really nice to handle when it's in the water, because it's what they call neutral density, which means it almost weighs nothing in water. Because it's got the same amount of buoyancy that it weighs. And so it's really nice to move it around. You can literally just grab it by a couple fingers and pull it up. But once you get it out of the water, now you're pulling on full gravity again. So I've got it out. I'm going to let it drip dry a little bit here before we put it in its stand for the winter. And let's get the pillows installed. Alright, we're definitely getting there. I think the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of spread the cable through all these grommets and go all the way around here, and then we can try and get the thing centered on here, because right now it's hanging down about 2.5 feet on this side, but it's hanging down a little bit more on this side. So we'll kind of want to pull it that way a little bit to kind of get it centered and properly positioned, but I think we are getting there. Alright, I got this thing pretty much into position. I got the cable strung around, and basically the next thing to do now is I just got to ratchet strap the thing closed, and that should hold it in place here, and should be good for the rest of the winter. So let's get that done. Alright, that feels actually pretty good, I think. Just kind of walk around and see how it looks. So no real loose pieces here. didn't want to pull too tight because I don't want to be grabbing around these the filter plumbing, but I think we're pretty much there. Now what I did is I kind of left this thing here because I can still kind of grab under. I can still kind of grab here and kind of maneuver the pillows because this is attached to the pillow. Now I'm probably going to disconnect that because I don't need to have that bungee cord here all winter. But we'll come back to that. I think the pillows are pretty much in the right spot. I had to kind of bail a little bit of the water out. We got a little bit of water kind of on the surface, but I got about 99% of that, and the rest of it will evaporate over the next few days. And now when leaves fall into the pool like this, they'll just fall onto the cover, and I can just blow them off with a blower. So yeah, I think this is going to work. The pool is officially buttoned up for the winter. Now, based on the fact that it appears that this thing is really only designed for maybe 1 or 2 uses, I was even looking at the warranty. The warranty says, you know, if it fails in the first year, they'll replace it for free. But if it fails in the second year, you're only going to get 40% of your money, and it just diminishes from there. So since I'm kind of going on the assumption that this is going to be a use it 1 year and replace it the next year kind of thing, I got a little bit extra this wire here, so I'm going to cut this off just so that I don't have this trip hazard here, because I'm probably going to be mowing the lawn at some point, and I can't imagine it'd be good for the lawnmower to be sucking in this metal cable. So I'm going to get a pair of wire cutters, and we're just going to cut those off at a couple inches off. Alright, so I've only had the cover on for a few minutes, and look at all the leaves that aren't in the pool. As a result, just in the last few minutes, these leaves are all falling on here. These would have been in the pool without the cover. So I think this is good. We're going to kind of keep an eye on it for the next few days, see if the wind does anything weird with it. But I think this should take care of the pool for the rest of the winter. So one of the things the pool people told me I could do once we get the pool covered was that I could get to the point where I only have to run the filter maybe an hour a day or so, just to kind of keep things moving and all that. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to turn off the filter, or I'm going to turn off the pump. The pump is right here, and we're just going to flip the switch in the back, and we are official in winter mode. Alright, I've officially moved the robot from the pool. I've cleaned out its collection bag and packed it up for the winter, so shouldn't have to think about this now until next year. And there we got the ladder packed away for the year. So like I said, that comes apart into little pieces, so it was easier to disassemble it and store it here in the side of the yard rather than try and leave it put together. Now I'm actually going to keep the one bad screw, that the one that I didn't end up cutting to get off, because I'll use that for a guide next year to get the right thing. But other than that, the pool is officially taken down. Summer's over. Now I just got to clean up my mess. So that just leaves us with one more piece of business to take care of. The voting has concluded for the painted color for the guest bedroom, and it was a blowout. Option number 5, almond cream, received 49% of the vote. So come back tomorrow and we're going to start painting in here. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is take this bed apart, because the last thing I want is to get paint all over my brand new bed. Now I think I'll be able to pull the bedside table out. And the dresser itself, I'm probably going to have to leave in here and just protect it really well. But I know the bed comes apart. I watched him put it together, and it doesn't look like it's too terribly difficult to take apart. So at the very least, I'll take all the blankets and pillows and mattresses and box springs and all that stuff out of here. That'll at least make it a little easier to cover up and to also get around, because first thing I'm going to have to do is do the ceiling, and it's a little hard to get there when you have the bed everywhere. But come back tomorrow and we will continue with that. So that's all I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.